Hola mis estudiantes, hoy es el último día de nuestra instrucción de vocabulario. Sorry, that was the start and end of my talking in Spanish because we will be learning words in English. Today is day 12 and we have 12 really cool words about grammar. So get excited. First, we are going to talk about what does grammar mean. This is on page 4. So grammar is rules to follow when putting words together to make sentences. It's these rules that we follow. For example, you start sentences with capital letters. What are some other grammar rules you can think of? Talk to a partner, and then we will talk together as a class. Maybe you talked about this one. Sentences end with periods, exclamation points, or question marks. This is a rule that we have to follow when putting sentences together. Maybe you thought of this one. Put quotation marks around quotes. It is another rule we need to follow when writing. Now we will look at the word fragment, which is just a few words above grammar on page 4. So a fragment is an incomplete sentence. It starts with a capital letter and has ending punctuation, but it doesn't have a complete thought. So this sentence right here, an incomplete sentence, this is actually a fragment. It looks like a sentence if you were just to look at it from far away. It starts with a capital letter, it has a period, but it is not a complete thought. In every sentence, we need a subject and we need a verb. If we do not have both of these, it is not a sentence. Here are 2 examples. Slammed the door and left. This is not a sentence. This is a fragment because who? We don't have a subject. We don't know who slammed the door and left. Here's another one. The teacher of our class. It looks like a sentence. It has a capital letter. It has a period, but it's not a complete thought. We don't know what the teacher did. We know the teacher of our class, but we don't have a verb. We don't know what the teacher did. Now, decide with your partner which of these examples is a fragment. Her favorite pet, an alligator with 4 legs. Or, we like school. Talk to your partner now about which one of these is a fragment. So, talking about these 2 sentences, at a first glance, this one seems like it might be the full sentence because it's longer, it has more information. But if I read it, her favorite pet, an alligator with 4 legs. Okay, I have a subject. I know I'm talking about her favorite pet. It's an alligator. But do I know what this alligator did? I know the who, her favorite pet, but does it say anywhere what this favorite pet did? No, it doesn't. So that tells me that this one here is a fragment. This sentence is shorter, but let's see if we have both a subject and a verb. We like school. Do we know who? Yep, we sure do. It's we. Do we know what we do? Oh, we do know. We like. We like school. So we have a subject and a verb. So even though this sentence is shorter, it is a complete thought. So this is not a fragment. The only fragment is the first sentence. Now please look at subordinate clause. This is on page 8, right in the middle. Subordinate clause is words in a sentence that cannot be a sentence by itself. It depends on the rest of the sentence. So a subordinate clause is part of a sentence that if you took it away from the rest of the sentence, it wouldn't be a complete thought. It would be a fragment. Here are some examples. She answered the phone when it rang. If I took this off and I just said she answered the phone, that's a complete thought. It is not a fragment, it is a full sentence. If I just had when it rang, that's not a full sentence. When it rang. Well, what happened when it rang? I don't know. That's not part of this part of the sentence. This part of the sentence depends on this. It has to be connected to this part of the sentence in order for it to make sense. So this here, when it rang, is the subordinate clause. Here's another example. Always be nice to your grandparents because they're your elders. If I just had always be nice to your grandparents, that's a complete thought. It is a full sentence. If I just had because they're your elders, that's not a full sentence. Because they're your elders. Well, what? What happens because they're your elders? This part of the sentence does not explain that. So that tells me that it is a subordinate clause. It needs to be connected to this main part of the sentence in order for it to make sense. Now decide with your partner what is the subordinate clause in each one of these sentences. Barely stopping to breathe, she ate the pizza really fast. Here's the other example you need to look at. He got the Kleenex so she could blow her nose. So talk to your partner about which part of the sentence you could take out and the rest would still make sense. But the part that you took out couldn't be a sentence on your own. Like these here, they could not be sentences on their own. That's the subordinate clause. So talk to your partner now. Here is what you should have decided. Barely stopping to breathe, she ate the pizza really fast. So I'm going to think about which part of the sentence can be by itself and which part can't. So let's see if I covered this first part up. She ate the pizza really fast. Okay, yeah, that's a full sentence. She, I have a subject, ate, I have a verb, she ate the pizza really fast. So that's a complete sentence. Well, let's see if I cover up the other part. Barely stopping to breathe. No, that's not a full sentence. What happened when you barely stopped to breathe? This part here does not fully explain that to me. In order for this to make sense, it needs to be connected to this part of the sentence. This depends on this. So that makes barely stopping to breathe the subordinate clause. Here's the other example. He got the Kleenex so she could blow her nose. Well, let's do some covering up. He got the Kleenex. Could that be a sentence by itself? Yes, it could be. We have a subject and we have a verb. So that is a full sentence. Let's cover up this side. So she could blow her nose. Could that be a sentence by itself? No, it couldn't. So she could blow her nose. Well, what happened? Why could she blow her nose? This doesn't explain why. In order for this part to make sense, it needs to be connected to this first part here. It can't be a sentence on its own. This here is the subordinate clause, so she could blow her nose, because it depends on this part of the sentence. Now, right above that, you will see subject-verb agreement on page 8. So subject-verb agreement is using the correct verb for the subject. So you use a singular verb for a singular noun and a plural verb for a plural noun. For example, I love, you love, he loves, we love, they love, she loves. So you might notice the pattern that you add an S when it is in the third person. All of the other subjects, you do not add an S. So let's go through the verb to have together. I have. Now on 3, you're going to say what it would be for you. You, 1, 2, 3. We'll do the same for he. Tell me what it would be on 3. 1, 2, 3. Now for we, 1, 2, 3. And they, 1, 2, 3. And then for she, 1, 2, 3. So you'll notice the only one that's different is the third person singular. Everything else is the same. Now please go to the top of page 2 and find colon. A colon is a punctuation mark to show the start of a list or explanation. Here's an example. There are 3 6th grade English teachers at CAT. Colon here. Miss Bonnie, Miss Estrella, and Miss Taylor. So I have this punctuation mark, the colon, to show the start of a list. So here's my list, so I put a colon there to show, okay, this is where the list starts. Here's a non-example. A non-example is something that is not an example. The 3 6th grade English teachers at CAT are Miss Bonnie, Miss Estrella, and Miss Taylor. So it's a very similar sentence. I still have my list of the English teachers, but you'll notice in this sentence I have a word that is not in the first one. It is the word are. If you use the word are, you do not need a colon. The colon only comes if you don't say are. So you just jump right into the list. Then you need the colon. So now finish the sentence in your packet. So the sentence is, I have 2 favorite foods. You are going to write the entire sentence, making sure you include the colon, and then write down what are your 2 favorite foods. Here's my example. I have 2 favorite foods, colon, ice cream and chocolate. It is a list of my favorite foods. So to show the start of the list, I put this colon here. And now a little bit above that on the same page, page 2, you'll find the word compound. A compound is to put together two or more words to form one word. Examples: hot dog, hot and dog, together, to, get, her, makes the word together, notebook, note, and book. Now your job is think of two more examples to write in the packet. Talk to your partner about this. See if you can come up with two compound words together. Here are three words that I came up with: keyboard, basketball, football. These are examples of words, compound words, that were formed by putting two words together to make one word. Now, once again on the same page, page 2, you will find the next word, contraction. So based on what you're seeing here, based on what you've learned in earlier years, what does contraction mean? You're writing this definition in your packet now. Here's what your definition should have looked something like: putting two words together using an apostrophe. So this is a little different than a compound word. A compound word, we put one whole word and another whole word together and made a new word. Here we're doing one whole word but part of another word. For example, aren't is formed by putting these two words together, are and not. I put them together and I take the whole are, and not, I just take part of the word, and instead of putting the O, I put this apostrophe. Doesn't, does not. Think of two more examples of contractions and write them in your packet at this time. Here are my examples. Shouldn't, formed from should and not. Doesn't, formed from does, not. Won't, will not. So won't is a little different. It's not willn't, it's won't. But it's still formed by putting these two words together, will and not. And we use an apostrophe, so that makes it a contraction. Now we are going to look at superlative. This is on page 8. Superlative means the highest in quality. So, examples: most likely to become an actress. It's the highest in quality. You're the best. You're the most likely to become an actress. You're not just kind of likely. You are the most likely to become an actress. Smartest. Not you're kind of smart, you're kind of in the middle. No, you are the very smartest. Most charming. Another example, you're not kind of charming. No, you are the most charming. So think of a superlative for someone in the class and share to your partner. I'm going to first show you an example what I mean. Here are two examples. Fernando is most likely to become a piano star. Not just kind of likely, maybe he will be, no, he is the most likely in the class to become a piano star. Romo is most likely to make a viral meme. These are two examples of superlatives, showing someone who is most likely to do something, who is the most of something. These are really common to find in yearbooks. I don't know if you do it here, but at my school, we would always have superlatives for the seniors. So for the kids graduating, like most likely to save the world, most likely to become a famous actress, most likely to become a teacher, things like that. They would give awards to the students. So now think of a superlative for someone in the class and share it to your partner. So you might say, my superlative is Fernando is the most likely to become a piano star. When you're saying these, my expectation is that you are being respectful and thinking of kind superlatives to say. Now we are going to talk about participle. This is on page 6, right in the middle. So a participle is a verb that is used as an adjective or a noun. So here's what I mean by that. The Leaning Tower of Pisa is cool. Leaning is a verb. I could say, I lean on the desk. Lean is a verb, but in this case, the word leaning is describing the tower. It's describing what the tower looks like. So this verb is being used as an adjective. Here's another one. Arriving late, Mary snuck in. So arrive could be a verb. I could say, I arrive late to class. In this case, though, this verb arriving is used to describe Mary. What is she doing? She's arriving late. That would describe Mary. Here's the other one. The exhausted kid took a nap. Exhaust is a verb. I could say, I exhaust myself and get really tired when I run too much. In this case, though, exhaust is describing the kid. What is the kid like? He is exhausted. So we already did this next part here about explaining what each participle is describing. So what you need to know about participle, it's a verb that's used as an adjective or a noun. Next, we are moving on to hyphen. This is on page 4. A hyphen is a punctuation mark used to put together words. Examples, pages 300 to 325. Here is our hyphen. It means two. Another one, 12-year-old boy. Hyphens here. And here's why we put hyphens in this example. 12-year-old is describing the boy. It's an adjective. It's one adjective for the boy. It's describing the age of the boy. But this one adjective is made by 3 different words. 12, year, and old. So to show that this is all one adjective, even though it's a few different words, we connect them by putting in hyphens. So now in your packet, these examples are in there. Circle the hyphens, just like how I did here. Circle these hyphens. Now, write this underneath the examples in that little bit of space there. Write this down. Middle of nowhere hotel. This phrase here, middle of nowhere, is one phrase that is used to describe hotel. It's one adjective, but we are using 3 different words, putting them together to describe this hotel. If I just said middle hotel, or nowhere hotel, or of hotel, that wouldn't make sense. I need all 3 of these words together to describe that the hotel is really far away from everything else. It's in the middle of nowhere. So after you have written this down, put in the hyphens where they go. You should have the hyphens between middle and of and nowhere. You're making sure that these 3 words you put together using hyphens to create one adjective. Now, on the same page, just a couple words above, we are going to look at homonym. Homonyms are words that are spelled and sound the same, but they have different meanings. For example, fair. Fair could mean a state fair, or can mean being equal. So like a fair, la feria that you go to here in Torreon, that kind of a fair. Or it can mean like being fair, being equal, sharing things, that's being fair. Both of these types of fairs are spelled the same and they sound the same, but there's two different meanings. Here's another example. Bow. It could mean the thing that you put in your hair, a hair bow, or it could mean like a bow, but from a bow and arrow. Once again, it's spelled the same and it sounds the same, but it has different meanings. Now there are two meanings of the word right. Talk to your partner about what the two definitions are of this homonym. So the two definitions of the word right, when it is spelled like this, are a direction opposite of left and correct. This kind of right is not a homonym with these two because it is not spelled the same as these two. Even though it sounds the same, it's not spelled the same, so it is not a homonym. In this case, it would actually be called a homophone. Homophone is right underneath on the same page. A homophone is words that sound the same, but they have different spellings and meanings. So it's similar to a homonym, where it's two words that sound the same and have different meanings. But in this case, with homophones, they actually have different spellings too. So that's like here with the right, like writing with a pencil, and right here, where we talked it could be correct, or the opposite of left. Right, right, sounds the same, but it's not spelled the same and they mean different things. So it's a homophone. Other examples, pear, pear. Sounds the same, but this is a fruit. This is a group of two. Flower, flower. Sounds the same, but spelled different, and this means like a plant that smells nice, and this means the white thing that you bake with, flour. We already talked about this one. Red, red. Sound the same, but different spellings and different meanings. This is a color. This is to say you read something, but in the past tense. One pair of homophones is new and new. They sound the same, but they are spelled differently and mean different things. Talk to your partner about their definitions. So what are the two different definitions of these two words? Here are our two definitions. This spelling of the word new means the opposite of old. This spelling of the word new means to know, but in the past tense. So they sound the same, but they have different spellings and different definitions, so they're called homophones. And with that, we have officially finished our vocabulary packet. You have just finished learning 135 words. You should be so proud of yourself for all of the hard work you have been doing. Give yourself a round of applause right now. And stop. We have one more day of homework assignments left to review the day's vocabulary presentation. So you should be able to do that now. And moving forward, we are going to be doing some activities to keep these words fresh in our minds, to make sure you really understand them, so you will be as prepared as possible for the map test in a few weeks.